Hi guys, Rick Malava here with SimplyMaya.com. One of our users, iPatch, is new to modeling in Maya, and he's attempting to model this caster that I have pictured here in his post. And I went through and gave him some tips on how to model this bottom plate piece here. And he seems to be having a lot of questions, which isn't surprising since he's just starting out with Maya. So I've put together a short video to demonstrate how I model just this base portion of this plate right here, which I'll play for you now. Hello, my name is Rick Malava, CTB RAM on the Simply Maya forums, and one of our members, iPatch, is just starting out in modeling, and he's modeling a caster that you'd find on the bottom of a little rolling desk or something like that. And we want to make sure you get off on the right foot since you're starting out and new to modeling in Maya. And so I'm going to just go through the process of what I did to model that bottom section of the caster for you so you can see the whole process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here with a polygon cylinder. And I'm going to go to its creation node, and I don't need that end cap, so I'm going to delete it, or all the edges on the end cap. So I'm going to delete those by just saying subdivisions on the cap 0. And then I'm going to take all of these faces and I'm going to delete them. And then I'm going to center the pivot on this guy, and just so that I'm working at the origin, I'm going to grab the Y arrow just so that I'm selecting the Y axis, and then holding down the X key and middle mouse gesturing over the origin of the axis will snap along that Y axis down to that point on the axis there. So we'll do a lot of that kind of snapping. If you hold the V key down, it'll snap to a vertex. If you hold the C key down, it will snap to a curve. And if you hold the X key down, it will snap to the axis or the grid. Now that I've done that, let's see. Well, I was going to delete the grid, but I'll keep it there for now. So now the next step is to duplicate this object, and we'll bring it up here and over here-ish. And now you'll notice if I just oh, actually no. I thought it might come off the axis if I just scaled it globally like that. So we'll just make this. This looks going to end up being one of the holes in the caster, and it's got this thing where it comes around this hole and it goes straight and very close to this edge, and then it actually is a little farther away from this edge and sort of swoops down and has this little curve to it up here. So I'm thinking about where I'm placing this hole right now so that when I put this edge around it, it comes out very close to this edge. So there we go. Let's call that right for the main circle and the hole. And the next thing I need to do is to be able to bridge between these objects, I need to combine them. And then once they're combined, I can take, let's see, some edges from this guy, 1, 2, 3, let's say, maybe these 3, 1, 2, 3, and go to these 3 edges here. And then I can use the bridge tool and bridge between them. And that starts the connection between this center part and this outer part for the shape that we're shooting for. Now, I don't need to model the whole thing, so what I'm going to do is take this guy and I'm going to split it into 4 parts so I can just work on 1/4 at a time. So to do that, I'll use the interactive split tool, and I'll put a split from here to here, and then another split. You hold the left mouse down to place the point, and then press the left key again to pick the next point, and then if you hold or click the right mouse button, it actually drops the tool and does the cut. So now I've split this into 4 parts. I can come in here and get rid of the bits I don't need. Now I need to continue filling out the connection between this inner part and the outer part, and what I can do for that is I'll start at the top here. If I grab these edges and I just extrude those, and I click this little button up here so that it extrudes or works along the global axis, I can push this guy out. I'm going to connect it right up about here, so I'm just sort of eyeballing it, and then I can scale it so that it's straight. and a little bit more right there. And now I can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edges between where I want to get to. So I'm going to need 4 to create 5 edges. You need 5 to split this with 5 edge loops, or 4 edge loops, one less than the number of edges you need. So for that, I'll go into insert the edge loop tool, go to its options, and I'll say multiple, and I'll put 4. And that will create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edges, as you see. Now what I can do is go to vertex mode, hit the Q key to drop that edge loop tool, select this vertex, and then holding down the shift key and right mouse button, I'll go to merge and merge vertex tool. And now I can take and connect it to this point, and that point, and that point, and that point, and that point. There we go. So that's that part. Now this part's a little trickier because it's going to come in here very close to this edge, so we might have to converge some of these edges. Also, I can, if I want to be frugal on my edge loops, I can actually get rid of this edge right here. And I'll show you how to do that while I'm thinking of it. If I go to edge and I select this edge and then double click this edge, it'll just select this loop, and I can hold the shift key, right mouse button, and go to delete edge. You have to be sure that you use delete edge, otherwise you'd leave the vertexes in here. But now I've created a 5-sided polygon here. You really want to strive to have all of your polygons be quads. You may not be able to avoid an occasional triangle, but in order to help with texturing later and laying out your UVs, it's best if everything is quads. So what I'm going to do is take this vertex and use that merge vertex tool that we've already used before and just bring this one down here. Now I've created a quad here. This is also going to help because this is going to be that section with a curve in it, so eventually I'm going to pull all of these vertexes in here. This side, however, stays straight. So let's build out this part here. So we'll go to this once again, pick these 2 edges, and we'll do an extrude. We'll extrude globally, and we'll pull it out a little bit and then scale it down, and you'll see why. I can only pull it out a little bit because I'm getting very tight along this edge. So it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3 edges that I can connect to here. So we'll do that same trick. I'll come up here. I need 3 edges in here. I might be able to get by. Actually, I think I can get by with 1 more. Oops, see, and then pick this edge. And I think I can probably get by with going out to that edge. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. So once again, I'll need 3 loops inside of here. So pick this guy, go to insert edge loop, go to its thing, make sure you're set to multiple edge loops, select 3, and drop 3 loops in there. Now, drop the tool by hitting the QT, go to vertex mode, select this vertex, go to vertex or the target weld tool, and just target weld these up. Okay, there we go. Now at this point we're very close. We just need to get an edge around the remainder of this so that we can square everything up. Now things are getting a little tight in here, and in one of the earlier versions I wanted to get rid of this edge here. So I could theoretically take all of these guys. Yeah, let's see if we can do it. Let's see, actually, if I can do that on this particular version. Every time I do this, this circle lays out a little differently. So I end up having to rethink how I do this a little bit. I think I'm going to leave this edge in. But I will show you, I did show you how to take that edge out. So I'll leave this edge in this particular version of this. So now the next thing to do is grab this edge and then double click this edge and then do an extrude. And we're going to extrude it globally again. And this time we're going to pull it out in this axis and then pull it out in that axis so that we get the right distance around this circle here, which I think is kind of like that. And then I just have to clean up these points. So I select this vertex, go to the W key, move the right axis manipulator just a little bit, and then holding down the V key, middle mouse gesture over this vertex, and the whole thing will jump to there. to be aligned with that vertex. Do the same thing down here. Select this vertex, select the z-axis so that it's active. Hold the V key down and middle mouse gesture over that vertex. Now I just have to clean up this little bit here so this going around this edge is smoother. That's easy here. I just pick this edge and move it up a little bit so that it's there. And then remember, this edge swoops in, so I can take this vertex and move it closer to that one, and take all of these vertexes and move them closer to that one. So the spacing, and now I've got the makings of that little swooped out section there. And then for this, we'll grab this edge, and we'll pull it out. Looks like it needs to be about there, and then I'm going to need to take this vertex out just a little bit by eye. Okay, and I'm just doing that by eye. I could do the vertex snapping trick again by pulling this out and say vertex snapping it to that. And then I could do the same thing with an edge and a vertex. So I could take these two edges, pull them out, and vertex snap them to right here. Now, when you're doing this, it's important, if you hold the W key down in the right or the left mouse button, it brings up this pie menu. You want to make sure that when you're doing this, that all of these edge snapping operations or vertex snapping operations, that you're in world mode. If you're in object mode, it keeps the spacing. So you want to be in world mode, and you want to have keep spacing turned off. Otherwise, when you do this, just to give you an example, since you're just learning, if I pick this edge right here, see now they're not equal, and I pick this edge, and then I have actually let's take yeah, that'll work. Take those two edges, and if I was to come in here and have it in object mode, and I select this guy and then vertex snap to here, you see what happens? It tries to maintain its spacing of all these vertices when it's in object mode. That's the same thing as if I was in world mode and I had keep spacing turned on. I'd get the same result. If I take this guy and I try to vertex snap to this point, you see it does the same thing. It tries to maintain the spacing. So what you want to do is be in world mode with keep spacing off, and now when I vertex snap along the x-axis to this point, you see everything lines up with the point that I'm snapping to. Just a little thing there, because you will get in trouble if you try to do that without it. Now what I can do here is just clean the geometry up a little bit. I can take this guy and pull it down, and once again you can use your vertex snapping trick to line all these up, and then what I can do is just manually space these guys out. So take these guys and pull them out. Just to keep everything a little cleaner. I can do that in one step by pulling everything to here, then hitting the R key, and then spreading them out like that as well. Okay, so now I've got nice even spacing around here. And so now the next step is, we're getting close to finishing this up. If I take this guy now, it's at the origin, so if I come in here and I say mirror, and I mirror on -x. Now when you mirror, it's going to also try to merge vertices, and there's no way to do this in advance to set this threshold up. If I pick the mirror node, if I pick this guy's mirror node, you see there's a merge threshold. It's always going to default to 0.1. There's no way to change that. So, but after the fact, I can come in here and say set this to 0.01. And you see everything pops back out, so it doesn't over-merge everything. So what I'm going to do is now just mirror this along the positive z direction. So go in here, mirror along the positive z direction, and once again it collapses everything because the merge threshold is too small. So go to the second mirror node. Sometimes when you pick that mirror node, it highlights everything, and I don't quite know why that is, like it's doing right now. See if I can if I deselect it and reselect it. It doesn't matter. I just don't like everything highlighted because I can accidentally change other values. But once again, I'll just pick that merge threshold and I'll set it up to something higher. so that it all pops free there. Okay, there you go. So now we've got a nice clean geometry that describes that base section. Now, in order for these holes to hold their shape, they need to have some kind of control or support edges just inside of this. So what I can do here is select all these faces, the 4 holes and the 4 quadrants of the inner hole, and I can do an extrude face, and then I'll come over here to offset, and I'll just give it a 0.01, a very small inset. And you see there, I now have this little sharp edge here to help hold this shape. And for the outer holes, I can just do that and delete them. And if I take this shape right now to see where we're going, where we're at so far, and smooth it, that's what we get. So we got the hole shapes now in the corner properly. So if I come back here and I set this back to unsmooth, I'm hitting the 1 key for unsmooth and the 3 key for smooth preview mode, if you're wondering how I'm going in and out of smooth mode. So now we take these faces and we'll just extrude those guys along the global axis. Will come up, and then I'll click that and scale it in. And once again, I'm just sort of eyeballing this. And now with these faces still selected, I'm going to extrude again. And once again, I'm going to go to offset and do a 0.01 inset. So I get a little tight edge here to help hold this corner. Now, this top part is a little more round than the bottom part. So instead of 0.01, I'm going to come in 0.03. And I'm going to do, by eye, I'm now going to come in here, and I'm going to insert some edge loops. Be sure to go to its options box and make sure you change it to equal distance. And I'm going to put an edge and sort of eyeball it so it's the same distance here. And these 3 edges are going to determine the curvature of this edge right here. So when Maya smooths this, it's going to interpolate between this edge, and this edge, and that will determine the smoothness or tightness of this corner here. And in the bottom, we want it to be a lot tighter, so I'm going to put an edge right about here that's the equal distance to the 0.01 that I have there. And so now when I smooth this and I go into object mode, you see I've got a tight corner down here and a little smoother edge up here. And now all we have to do is add thickness to this whole thing. So if I pick it, go into unsmooth mode, and I come up here and I just have a icon or the tool on my shelf here to do an extrude. You can go to, if you don't have that, you can go to Edit Mesh, and there is an extrude right here that you can do. So that's the same as clicking this. Now I want to add thickness. If I pull up, you can see if I come in here and I add thickness down here, this thickens the whole piece, tries to thicken it perpendicular to all the surfaces, and I try to come up with it by saying 0.1. You see it does some strange things in here. However, if I go the opposite direction, minus 0.1, oops. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to pause the screen just for a second. My 2012 has an issue where it stops refreshing my screen, and I have to start and restop things. I still haven't worked out why that's happening, but it happens. They'll eventually fix it. So let's try this again. Let's go thicken in the opposite direction, minus 0.1. Okay, and that actually works. It doesn't add anomalies. Now what I could do is I need to have, once again, 3 edges to hold the tightness of this corner as well as the tightness as I come around this corner. So by doing this in one step, I have to come back in here and add edge loops in. It's actually more efficient to just do it in smaller steps. So instead of 0.1, let's extrude this guy 0.01. Okay, and then let's repeat that operation while we still have just those faces selected. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to extrude it again, and this time I'm going to extrude it 0.05, minus 0.05, remember, minus 0.05. That gives us some thickness, and then once again I need the edges at the bottom, so we'll extrude it one more time. with those faces still selected, come in here and do it again, and this time minus 0.01 again. Okay, so this has the effect of adding these support edges in without having to come back through and add them in manually. Also, you get a little better precision because you're picking the exact amount that you want to extrude this face. So now we have thickness to this thing. If I smooth it, let's see how these edges round out. And they look pretty nice. I'm not going to have to add another support edge in there. So when I smooth this thing out, it looks pretty much like that. And that's how you model that base plate section. This has been Rick Malava with simplymaya.com, helping you get start out on the right foot modeling in Maya.